Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Virtual Travel Escapes. Thank you so much for joining us this morning and watching our little webinar series where we're featuring different destinations and experiences from around the world, really in hopes to give you some inspiration and some great ideas of where you might want to travel to next. I know we're all thinking about it, so thank you so much for joining us. I'm Rhonda Smehan, the leisure manager at Paul Travel, and my beautiful co-host, as always, Julie Bekdash. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning. Thanks, Rhonda, and welcome everybody.
So we're really excited about today. And again, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate seeing a lot of repeat viewers that are joining us, and we have some new ones. So welcome, everybody. Just as a reminder, our webinars are always recorded. So as of today, we're recording this one. And if you've missed any in the past and you want to kind of take a look and see what you might want to revisit or view again, go to our website, paultravel.com/webinars, and you'll see a full list of all of our previous recorded webinars. That brings me to our next webinar, which will be on October 28th. At 4 p.m. And we're going to take a little dive and head a little south to South America and the country of Bolivia, which I think is going to be so fascinating. So be sure to watch for the registration on our newsletters and look for that. It's going to be a great one. Now, I know I'd mentioned, I think a lot of us are waiting for, travel to really open back up again. And what I love about travel is all of those memories that you have. I'm sure we're kind of revisiting our past vacations, to kind of get us through these days and get us excited about what's coming up. But I feel it's no matter where you journey to, all your encounters and experiences truly are what makes things so memorable. And I think today's destination is one of those places that you'll remember forever. So welcome to Egypt. I know we all think about these iconic Egyptian sites like the pyramids and the Sphinx and things that you need to incorporate into your trip when you go to Egypt, but I know today will give us a really good taste of certainly those items and maybe what things we might not know about. So if you have any questions throughout today, please jot them in the Q&A box or even in the chat box. Maybe you guys have been and maybe there's a great memory that you want to highlight. We'd love to hear from you. So please don't be shy. Ask away. Julie's going to monitor any of the questions that come in throughout the presentation just to ensure that once our guests are done presenting, all your questions get answered. So I'm going to turn this over to Julie, and our lovely Julie, you're wearing actually a traditional dress. Are you not from Egypt?
Yes, I am. It's called a galabeya. I don't know if you can see it very well, but my husband is Egyptian, and him and I, neither of us have been to Egypt, but it was a gift from my mother-in-law, and she grew up in Giza, just like family photos on the rooftop with the pyramids in the background. It's just incredible. And so I'm looking forward to taking him sometime soon, I hope.
I guess that's lovely.
Yeah, so I'll introduce our guests today who we're so grateful to have with us. So our presentation is with Abercrombie Kent, as you know. So Carson Muir, he is the sales director for the Upper Midwest and for Canada. He's based in downtown Chicago. He is originally from Portland, Oregon, but he grew up living overseas for about 10 years with his family in Brussels, Belgium, and in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. So he got to travel extensively around Europe and Asia, which is awesome. And he's also an avid runner. And congratulations on completing your first marathon last Sunday. That's a huge achievement.
That's fantastic.
Thank you guys so much. It's great to be here.
Yeah, and then joining us from Cairo is Ahmed Adel. He's a marketing and communications executive with Abercrombie and Kent, based in Cairo. He actually grew up in a diplomatic family and moved around quite frequently and has actually lived in like Washington, Washington, D.C., New York, Geneva, Athens, and London. And then after he graduated from the University of Indianapolis, he decided to go back to Cairo to explore his own country. And so he's spent the last 6 years there exploring. He's an avid climber and a reader, and we're so grateful to have you with us today. So I will hand it over to you for the presentation. And again, let us know if you have any questions. We'd love to answer them for you if there's anything at the end. So take it away.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Julia and Rhonda, for the warm welcome. And it's really a pleasure to be here with you all today and talk about my beloved country of Egypt. So kind of like you mentioned, Rhonda, I know that for most people around the world, really, Egypt is quite an iconic destination. So it needs little introduction. I mean, surely most people have heard everything there is to know about the pyramids and the Sphinx and all the wonderful treasures that you can find here. But today I'm hoping to kind of give you a fresh perspective on Egypt as a touristic destination with things that you might not have been aware of that are possible here. And pretty much just update you with what's going on and the current situation, and also demonstrate what an A&K itinerary through Egypt is all about. So currently, actually, there's a lot of new exciting things happening here with new tours and new museums and hotels. And of course, just constant discoveries that are being unearthed almost every day, really. Archaeologists always find some new and exciting things here. So plenty of good reasons why Egypt should be on top of any traveler's minds. So now I'll just please allow me to share my screen so I can show you the wonderful pictures that we've prepared for you here today. And just before we get started, I'd like to mention that Egypt's borders have been open since March 2020, and that we've actually been lucky enough to welcome quite a decent influx of travelers, despite, of course, the current situations, compared to many other destinations around the world. So actually, the confirmed business total pax number from March 2020 is around 4,000 people that have been on the ground here with us at A&K. So you can see how, despite everything, we've still been lucky enough to keep some considerable traffic and withstand this situation, which is a positive for us, of course. Now we just simply look forward as the world gets ready to dust off their passports, as they say, and welcome travel back to its usual position, and hopefully even stronger than ever even. And I think Egypt is in a pretty good position to do so. Our government is showing great support for tourism with many great initiatives and investments for the industry. I know that before the pandemic, Egypt had actually reached record numbers for inbound tourism. And now I think we're ready to kind of pick up where we left off as the world grows more and more confident for travel. So I'll quickly tell you about our entry requirements. I think it's important for you to know that all travelers coming into Egypt should follow the measures that are set by the Egyptian authorities and present official certification with negative PCR test results for COVID-19, taken at least 96 hours prior to boarding the plane heading to the country. For passengers who have been vaccinated, it's at least 40 days before their arrival in Egypt, they can submit their vaccine certificate to the quarantine authority at the Egyptian airports, and are thus not really requested to bring any negative PCR tests anymore. So now I'll just quickly brief you with our health and safety protocols, because of course, Abercrombie and Kent, as one of the world's premier network of destination management companies, it's very important for us to put your health first wherever we take you, so that we can leave you with the peace of mind that comes with having the world's top experts at your side. So our COVID-19 protocols follow all the guidelines by leading health experts, of course, including the WHO. And we have very long-lasting and strong relationships with our suppliers. This includes restaurants and hotels and transportation providers and so on. And all these partners know of our exact standards and have been fully trained by our staff to make sure that they comply with all local regulations regarding health and hygiene. So basically everyone involved in running your journey, including guides and drivers and baggage handlers, and even people behind the scenes such as myself, we all adhere to a strict round-the-clock health and safety regimen to ensure that we keep you safe at all times. So now that we got this out of the way, I have pulled up here the map of Egypt, and you can see highlighted with the red dots are the main touristic destinations, I would say. So up here in the north, you have Alexandria, and right beneath is Cairo. So these are the two major cities, I would say, each so rich and vibrant in its own way with a huge historical and cultural significance. Alexandria on the north coast with its Mediterranean allure. So you have a lot of Greek and Roman influence, and you can really see it everywhere you go in the streets, from the architecture, from the food and the language. And there's really so many wonderful tours like the Library of Alexandria, which is one of the largest and most significant of the ancient world that has been renovated and is really have become a modern place, hub for culture. Then, of course, Cairo, which is the capital, one of the largest cities in Africa, and I would say the world even. And this is usually the main entry point to any holiday in Egypt. So, of course, home to the Great Pyramids of Giza and the Sphinx, most of the great museums that we have here. It's really a city that's so abundant in history and culture, with so many civilizations that have settled here through the years and left their marks. So you have the world's largest souk, for example, like Khan Khalili Bazaar, where you can buy one-of-a-kind authentic goods and products. Old Cairo, Coptic Cairo with the Jewish heritage. It's really a melting pot of history and culture. Then we move on to the south, which is actually what we call Upper Egypt here. So you have Luxor, Aswan, and Abu Simbel. So these really are places where the banks of the Nile are dotted with the famous temples and tombs of the ancient world. It's really a timeless place full of archaeological treasures. So Luxor actually is home to more than a half of Egyptian antiquities. And Aswan, which is what we call the jewel of the Nile, is really such a wonderful place where the Nile runs clear and the scenery is just out of this world. And then we have the Red Sea. So these are more like beach resort destination types of places like Hurghada and Sharm el-Sheikh in the Sinai Peninsula, which is right here, if you can see where my mouse is outlining. So these places are just perfect for just relaxing and enjoying the sun and taking up some marine activities, which I'll go further more into details in just a bit. So Abercrombie and Kent, we actually have offices in all these places that I just mentioned. So you can see how our countrywide reach really enables our guests to always be taken, to be in good hands and wherever they go and be taken good care of. So actually A&K has been on the ground since 1982 in Egypt and has become a true powerhouse in Egyptian tourism, I would say, with the capabilities to open very unlikely doors for our travelers and tailor-make the most creative and bespoke itineraries that further enhances the destination, which is already a very special destination in every aspect. So, with that being said, I just want to quickly go through what your average itinerary for first-time visitors into Egypt looks like, more or less. We usually recommend about 10 days total, starting with a few days in Cairo, so just enough to experience the main highlights of the capital. Of course, this includes the Egyptian Museum, the Great Pyramids, and the majestic Sphinx, and some few other things that are like the Old Cairo and the Khan Khalili bazaars and things like that. Before embarking on your Nile cruise, which is typically a 4-night Nile River cruise through Upper Egypt, starting from either Luxor or Aswan. And then you just sail along the Nile, and on this journey, you'll get to visit all the major sites of the ancient world, like the Temple of Luxor, the Temple of Karnak, the Valley of the Kings, which is home to so many tombs of the great ancient pharaohs. And all of this, of course, courtesy to our sanctuary retreats cruise fleet, which also I will get into more details in just a bit. So after that, you also have the option to extend to Abu Simbel after your cruise, which is on the very southern border of Egypt, where you will find the beautiful temple of Ramses II and his wife Nefertari. This temple is really a stunning one with its famous facade, dominated by four 70-foot tall statues of the pharaoh, as you see in the picture here. The flight to Abu Simbel takes about 45 minutes from Aswan, and the whole duration of the tour is about 4 hours. So I think it's a very much worth it to extend it as part of your Nile cruise program. And then you go back to return to Cairo for your final day in Egypt, where actually we kind of leave you with the liberty to choose, pick and choose your itinerary. So you can drive to Saqqara, for example, which is the site of hundreds of tombs and 14 pyramids, including the famous pyramid of Zoser, which is believed to be the oldest in the world, actually. Or you can just, design your day pretty much with the options of discovering Coptic Cairo, visiting a church that was built where the Holy Family once stayed, actually, or the ancient Ben Ezra synagogue as well. Islamic Cairo as well is a very great option, which includes a walk in Al Mu'izz Street, which is a very historical and one of the oldest streets in Cairo. So it's really the nucleus of the city, I would say. Or you have the options as well of viewing the royal mummies and countless other artifacts in the newly inaugurated National Museum of Egyptian Civilization. I'll talk also just a bit more about that in just a bit. So this is pretty much what your typical Egypt itinerary for first-time visitors more or less looks like. So now I'll just mention also a few of our favorite hotels in Cairo and our partners that we've worked with for so many years. We have an amazing relationship with these hotels, and they know us very well and take amazing care of our people. So this here is the historic Mina House Hotel, which is over 100 years old. It was actually inaugurated in celebration of the opening of the Suez Canal. So yeah, about over a century ago. And this is really a hotel with a lot of memories, which keeps it alive. So, memories of Winston Churchill, President Carter, all these people, plenty of kings and queens and celebrities who've all stayed in this very iconic hotel. Currently, the palace itself is closed for major renovations, but will be open just in time for about next year. So yeah, just sitting in this hotel brings out the vibes of the pyramids, because you're pretty much literally at the foot of the pyramids, so it doesn't really get closer than this. So the experience really of just sitting there is something different and unique, and the hotel is really a landmark by itself. Then we move on to the Four Seasons Nile Plaza. This is personally one of my favorite hotels in Cairo. It's right by the Nile. It was open about 15 years ago and has become one of the hottest spots around Cairo. So people really love the outlets, the restaurants, very extravagant, lobby and bar and pool area, amazing facilities all in all. So, and the rooms are very comfortable as well. So right on the Nile with beautiful balconies. It's really a prime location in Cairo. So now I'll jump into the experiences and see what new things that we got going on here in Egypt. And of course, there's no better place to start than our new museums, and more specifically the Grand Egyptian Museum, which is very much anticipated all around the world. This will officially become the largest museum in the world once it opens its doors to the public, which is expected to be by the end of 2022. Hopefully before that. So this will contain over 100,000 artifacts, so the largest collection of pharaonic antiquities in the world. Of course, many of the current Egyptian museums highlights in downtown will be transported to this new location. So this will be the new home of King Tut's famous gold mask, for example, along with thousands of treasures that were recovered from his tomb, which will all be in display in brand new state-of-the-art halls and galleries and exhibits. So as I mentioned before, the opening of this museum isn't expected till late next year. However, Abercrombie and Kent is currently able to collaborate with the Department of Antiquities and arrange for a very special preview visits of this museum, which is still a construction site, but you know, a lot of people want to see how they're handling the artifacts, what kind of things moved there, how the progress is coming along. I was actually just driving there, passed by a couple of weeks ago, and I was taken aback about how huge this building is and very impressive. The architecture is just sublime. So it's really something to look forward to. So with that being said, I'm sure you'll be wondering, what about the Egyptian Museum in Tahrir Square, which is the one that's currently open? What will happen to it once things do move to the new location? And what many don't know is that there's actually plenty more treasures and never before seen artifacts in this basement, which will eventually be exhibited. So this will actually, a lot of people can consider it a new museum as well. And still, a visit here is very special for its historical location, right in the center of Cairo. And it's beautiful and iconic structure and building like you see in the picture. So it always remain an iconic venue, especially with private insider access visits here after hours. It really adds to the whole experience and is really an inspiring phenomenon to have all these artifacts at your disposal, just you and your Egyptologist as he just takes you through the stories behind each treasure that you can find there. And then lastly, as far as new museums, we also have this newly inaugurated National Museum of Egyptian Civilization, which just adds to the list of wonderful museums that you can visit in Cairo. But this one's a bit different, I would say. It's actually the first one of its kind in Egypt, and it presents the whole Egyptian civilization from prehistoric times up to the modern present day. So it has a different, more comprehensive view of Egyptian history and culture. So it's actually partially open now. It has plans of expanding and even opening up new halls and facilities, which will eventually have, I believe, about 50,000 artifacts on display. So, like I said, this is really considered a crossroads of Egyptian history, this museum. So from pharaonic to Greco-Roman, to Coptic, to medieval and Islamic, and even modern and contemporary. So all of that under one roof is really quite a treat for anyone that likes to delve deeper into the history of the country. And actually, what also many don't have confused is that the NMEC has officially become the permanent new home of the 22 royal mummies, which were just recently transported back in April during the famous Gold Parade. I don't know, a lot of people have, it was a huge online event on YouTube. It went pretty viral. So yeah, a lot of people thought they were transporting it to the new museum, the Grand Egyptian Museum, which I mentioned earlier, but it's actually in this venue here. So just to clear off the misunderstanding. So also, I think any trip into Egypt is never complete without experiencing a Nile cruise. There's really no better way to see Egypt and really take it all in. And actually, Abercrombie and Kent, we have our sister company, Sanctuary Retreats, and we own our own fleet of 4 different vessels, each with its own character and style, but all equally as luxurious and voted many times to be the best when cruising the Nile River. So starting from 4-night itineraries between Luxor and Aswan, this is really the most exclusive and luxurious way to take in all these fabled temples and tombs that we have in Upper Egypt, complemented, of course, by the best award-winning chefs in the country and really some unmatched service. So in this picture here, this is the Nile Adventurer. This is our elegant 32-cabin cruise, which is widely regarded to be one of the best boutique ships on the Nile, which offers you a very luxurious yet relaxed cruise. It was recently refurbished in 2019 in a very chic and modern contemporary decor, but also has a hint of modern Egyptian influence. You can find more pictures of interiors and things like that in our image gallery. I can share the link with you toward the end of the presentation if you're interested to see more. Here we have the Sunboat 4. So this is our 40-cabin cruise, which is actually our biggest one. Also recently renovated a couple of years ago, furnished in very contemporary style with the Art Deco influence, very eye-catching and harmonious colors that you find in the interiors here. Next, we have the Sunboat 3. So this is more, we like to call it more of an intimate river yacht rather than a cruise because of its small size. So only 18 cabins, including 2 royal and 2 presidential suites. This one is modeled on and inspired by the eras of the 20s and the 30s. So it really has, you know, a very graceful and authentic Egyptian feeling to it with, you know, original antique pieces and furniture. If you're familiar with Agatha Christie's novel, Death on the Nile, this is really a kind of transpires this kind of you know, feeling. And actually, it's been several times voted among the 100 most beautiful boats in the world by Condé Nast. So really a ship that's renowned for its style and comfort and refinement. And last, but definitely not least, we have the Sanctuary Zain Nile Chateau. This is actually what we call a dahabeya, which means a traditional Egyptian sailboat. So it actually has no engine and is exclusively available for charter. With only 6 cabins, it's really a boat that offers you the unique opportunity to tailor your own cruise to your liking, since it's only available for charter. We call it a la carte itineraries, kind of. And actually, each individual cabin is decorated in its own original design and theme, with, you know, influences drawn from Egypt's history and culture and geography. So you have the Napoleon suite, for example, the King Farouk suite, and so on. And we've had an amazing guest list of people that have taken this boat. So, you know, from Hollywood celebrities to politicians. So yeah, it's a very, very unique one, a true gem on the Nile, I would say. And believe it or not, it's actually been full almost year round, even during COVID-19. So quite a popular one. So now I would like to take this time to show you a video that we've prepared for Sanctuary Retreats. We've worked on this a couple of years ago with our friends from Black Bean Productions in South Africa, and we've had so much fun filming for this video. And I think it really captivates the experience of our Nile cruises. So without further ado, I'll just play the video.
I've been with Sanctuary for 16 years. The whole experience is magical. Between Luxor and Aswan, these are the most important monuments to see.
It's a magic in Egypt. We have a saying, if we drink from the river, for sure you will be back.
Sanctuary cruises provide exceptional experience on the Nile in terms of the places we visit. This is a full package of history, art, and being on the Nile cruise. See the life along the valley is the greatest book you can read about Egypt.
What makes Sanctuary is the people. All our Egyptologist sanctuary tell this story, the myths of each temple, and I think this is what brings it to life.
Every day I learn something new. Every day I know about different culture. It comes from your heart. You have to make them satisfied and feel at home. All my colleagues grown in sanctuary retreats. That's why this is a motivation for you.
The people here, they come from all different backgrounds. You'll find the same people that's been working for years and years, and this is very common in sanctuary.
I feel this is my home.
People is people everywhere. And whatever your nationality, whatever your religion, we are all the same.
Sanctuary Cruises is much more than temples and tombs. We are providing a cultural experience to see closer the diversity of Egyptian society in the South.
This is the most incredible moment anybody can have. It makes you feel like you're touching this culture.
You end up with the greatest and the purest hearts of the Egyptian people.
Sanctuary retreats, you are far away from the modern life. You are with the ancient life. And I'm sure you'll come again and again.
Yeah, so I hope you all enjoyed this, and I think you can see how really this video kind of encapsulates the experience pretty well. How magical the South really is, and especially on the Nile cruise. So yeah, I mean, hopefully this kind of gives you an idea of what you can look forward to when cruising the Nile. So now I'd like to also take this time to talk a bit about a few off the beaten track experiences, as we like to call them. I pulled back here the map of Egypt so you can have a clearer understanding of where we are headed geographically. So like we started in Cairo, then we ventured south towards Upper Egypt, so Luxor and Aswan, which is where you will take your cruise along the Nile here. And the more adventurous side of Egypt and all the beaten tracks are usually in the Red Sea areas, so right on the coast here, or the Sinai Peninsula, which is where you'll find Sharm el-Sheikh and places like Dahab and Mount Sinai. Really very beautiful natural beauty of Egypt that you can find there. So yeah, like I said, Egypt, of course, is synonymous with its ancient heritage, and that goes without saying. But we also have an abundance of adventure tours and desert experiences and beach destinations that are sure to blow anyone away. So here we have in this picture Jabal Musa, which is actually Mount Sinai, also called, which is a beautiful hike guided by the local Bedouins who have dwelled in these mountain ranges for generations and generations, and they give you very special insights into their very distinctive culture as well. So they know these mountains like the back of their hands and take you to the very best spots. So it's really an awe-inspiring experience with beautiful, majestic sunset or sunrise views from the top of the world. And actually, this is the mountain where Moses received the 10 Commandments. So also a great religious significance to it as well. In this picture here, we're also in Sinai. There are amazing valleys like the Wadi Gnai, famous for its rock climbing. For me personally, this is something that I love to do because I'm a rock climber, and this is actually a picture that I've taken of me and my cousins. So just about a 20 to 30-minute drive from Sharm el-Sheikh, you can go to a town called Dahab, and right next to it is this beautiful wadi where mountaineers from all over the world have gathered and discovered the routes and the climbs. So it's a really nice chance to, experience the natural beauty of Egypt. Then we have in the Western Desert near the Libyan borders, the beautiful Siwa Oasis. This is really where you can get in touch with nature and completely seclude yourself from the hustle and bustle of the city life. So you have no cell phone service, no internet. It's really for people that want to, go the extra mile and surround themselves with the beautiful scenery. This place is famous for its mineral springs and salt lakes and endless olive and palm tree groves. So really, it's a vista that you wouldn't get anywhere else in the world. And it's also home to some beautiful eco lodges like the one in the picture here, the Adrar Amlal Eco Lodge. As you can see, it has a very rustic and simple interior, which has its own charm. With the cobblestones and the wood tavern kind of feeling, but also quite luxurious in its own way. Impeccable service and hospitality from the C1 people who really have a way to charm you into their culture. So yeah, quite a unique and different face of Egypt that you could discover as well. There's also the Wadi Rayyan in the Fayoum Desert, which is a great example of that as well. And this is perfect for day trips from Cairo. It's just about an hour and a half drive, so perfect for an overday excursion. And it has some of the most beautiful and softest dunes, great for sandboarding, which a lot of people gather there for. Bird watching as well. There's a very interesting species of bird that reside there. It's basically just a very vast national park and protected area with a lot of lakes and waterfalls. And yeah, lots of people just, like I said, come here for just the outdoor activities and to get out of the city. And also near Wadi Rayyan, there's also Wadi Hitan, which is very famous for a lot of archaeological prehistoric remains of whales and other species, for example, because this whole area was once, about millions of years ago, all submerged under the ocean. So then we move on to the Red Sea, which is just great for relaxation and sunbathing and just enjoying a nice cocktail, for example. So we have great destinations in the Red Sea like Sharm el-Sheikh and Hurghada and El Gouna, which is something a bit more new and recent. So yeah, the Red Sea is really special. You can rent out some yachts like in the picture here and go island hopping for some barbecue setups or go fishing, which is what the Red Sea is majorly known for. There's some new trendy activities as well, like kite surfing, which is perfect for Egypt because of the crystal clear waters and just the beautiful sun and resorts that we have and the wind conditions as well. So many surfers around the world actually gather in the Red Sea for this sport specifically. And of course, diving, which is of course the main highlight of any Red Sea vacation. It's pretty much the main attraction for many tourists. Places like Sharm el-Sheikh and Dahab that I mentioned earlier. Pretty much the whole Red Sea coast is really home to an incredible ecosystem and coral reefs with aquatic species that you won't find anywhere else in the world. So this is a great chance for you to take on, some diving lessons while you're in Egypt. Getting the license isn't really that difficult, and there's a lot of great centers and diving centers to choose from. So yeah, Ras Muhammad is one destination that pops to mind, which is at the very tip of Sharm el-Sheikh. It's about a 20-minute drive from downtown Sharm, and I think it's just home to a beautiful ecosystem and so many colors that you'll see underwater. So quite magical. And yeah, now I believe my colleague Carson has also a few words that he would like to mention. Carson?
Thank you so much, Ahmed, for that wonderful overview and sharing your home country with all of us. I think hopefully everyone can see why Egypt is one of our top selling destinations. We certainly love, working with all the talented travel advisors at Paul Travel and partnering with them to build trips for their clients. We thank you guys for joining us today and learning a little bit more about all that Egypt has to offer. There really just are so many different ways to experience Egypt, and Ahmed did a great job touching on some of the most popular routing for first-time visitors and also touching on some of the off the beaten path destinations. But we encourage you to reach out to your travel advisor and they can make recommendations based on your previous travel history and your travel style to really pair the perfect itinerary for you to experience this wonderful destination. We have a new trip that we've put together for 2022 that I just thought I'd share with you today. It's going to be a more in-depth itinerary than the typical 10-day itinerary that Ahmed mentioned. This itinerary is going to be 13 days. It's called Pharaohs and the Pyramids. So you'll start in Cairo by getting up close to the massive paws of the Great Sphinx on a special private visit with A&K. You'll get to venture inside of the pyramids and partake in an optional camelback ride along the Giza Plateau. We're also going to extend the cruise on this journey a little bit longer than the typical 4-night cruise. We're going to do a leisurely 7-night river cruise for this trip. So that just allows us to see more sights and take a little bit more time between Aswan and Luxor. And then you're going to get an opportunity to descend into the tomb of King Tut, and you're going to visit the famous archaeologist Howard Carter's home, and it's been about exactly 100 years after the tomb has been discovered. And then, of course, we've incorporated a wonderful, stunning hot air ballooning experience to happen while you're on the Nile. I think you saw a little bit of that in the video there, but that is incorporated into this itinerary, a wonderful new perspective to take in the sights while you're on the Nile. And then you'll return back to Cairo and you'll be among the first visitors to a newly excavated Waiti tomb, which is in Saqqara. So the site of many historical sites, but this new site has just recently been discovered after 4,400 years. And so it's not quite open to the public yet, but our team has secured a private visit to this tomb for this particular group of travelers on the Pharaohs and Pyramids trip. And I think the other highlight of this trip that I'll just mention is the flights between Cairo between Abu Simbel are all going to be privately chartered for the group, which will just allow for a smoother travel experience throughout the journey. So that's the one that I wanted to highlight with you, but I'll reiterate, there are just so many different ways to visit Egypt and explore Egypt, and you should reach out to your travel advisor to have that conversation, and we'll find the perfect match for you. But with that, we'll take some time to answer any questions that you all have, and are happy to spend a few minutes here for anyone who has some questions. If you haven't typed them into the Q&A box, moving Julie back in here to help us.
Thank you guys so much. It's so true that there's, and I know that's something that Gloria mentioned, that there is so much new happening, and Ahmed as well, that they're always uncovering new tombs. And so if you've been to Egypt before, there's so many new things that you can see, and it's hard to fit everything in one visit anyways. So thank you. Just touching a couple questions about how today it's October 14th and things are changing very quickly, but just a couple of questions about safety and about COVID, like how the vaccine's being rolled out in Egypt, and how that's coming along, and maybe if you don't mind just talking about some safety issues, if there are any.
Well, I think in Egypt, the government is doing a pretty good job to, push health and hygiene in general. So we still are taking very good care. Social distancing is still practiced pretty much everywhere. Masks and sanitizers are readily available pretty much everywhere you go. So I think as far as cases, Egypt is on a very good track. and like hotels and restaurants and things like that practice 50% capacities up even until now. So you don't have that really. You won't feel like you're too cluttered here in Egypt. As far as vaccines, of course, I mean, it is underway and the progress is very good, but it's still a third world country, so it's not as developed or advanced as in places like America or Europe or so on. But I would say that I mean, it's going pretty well, and every day we're receiving some new cargoes with just with the vaccines. So Pfizer just actually came in recently, so I think it's going pretty well. I think the percentage about vaccinated people now is reached about 15%. So I know, of course, compared to the developed countries, maybe it might sound a bit alarming, but really it isn't, and it's pretty good. And like I said, cases are very well under control. So so I think we're on a pretty good track. And tourism, it shows in the numbers. Really, tourists have been coming here since the very beginning, and are still coming here, and they choose this destination because I think they feel more or less safe. And it is a welcoming country for tourism specifically. So so I wouldn't worry too much about that. I mean, the situation is pretty much the same all over the world. So
and I'll just add that in addition to the health and safety protocols that Ahmed touched on, all the crew members on board Sanctuary boats are fully vaccinated, and they all wear masks at all times. So most of the time you're going to be in some of these open air sites, but while you're confined onto the ship, it is a fully vaccinated setting.
And hotels as well. So yeah, the hospitality and the travel industry kind of was prioritized for enrolling the vaccinations and so on. So yeah, good that you mentioned that.
Okay. We have a few more questions, which is great. How big of a group size will the Pharaohs and Pyramids tour be? Do you know, Carson?
Yeah, I'll take that one. So that's a great question. I forgot to touch on that. So there's just going to be 4 departures for Pharaohs and the Pyramids in 2022. And it's going to be 34 guests, but we're going to have it split into 2 groups of 17. And so our typical small group journey size is 18 guests. And for this journey, we have 2 kind of traveling together with separate resident tour directors, which allows us to fully charter the planes and then fully charter the Sanctuary Sunboat 3 for this group. So that's the details on the number of guests for these departures.
Okay, perfect. And can you just maybe share your, maybe Ahmed, like what month or when's the best time of year to travel to Egypt in your opinion?
Yeah, of course. So actually, I like to say that Egypt is a year-round destination, but of course, depending on where you're going. So places like the Red Sea, of course, this is perfect for summers because Upper Egypt during summers, of course, gets a bit too hot. So Luxor and Aswan and the Nile cruise isn't really recommended during the summer. So I would say the best time would be from mid-September to October. All the way to April and May. So so yeah, I mean, you have a pretty good window for peak seasons.
Okay. And what about currency when people are traveling around? Do you recommend getting some Egyptian pounds, or would US dollars be easily exchanged?
Yeah, it's currency exchange bureaus are pretty much everywhere here, so that's not a problem. You can just come with your dollars and you exchange them anywhere. Some places also accept dollars directly as well, so that's really not a problem at all.
Okay, but maybe get some Egyptian pounds and bring them if you can.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but it's not necessary at all. I mean, you'll find them everywhere here, and the exchange rates are pretty good here as well. So.
Okay, sounds great. And how strenuous would you say most of the tours be? Like, what kind of if somebody, like, how mobile would somebody need to be, I guess?
I mean, no, they're not that strenuous. So I mean, for the Nile cruises, I assume I mean, it's pretty. I mean, of course, there's walking, a lot of walking, but I mean, no extreme physical, activities required. So I mean, just wear comfortable shoes. Make sure you have a hat or something for the days, because the sun could get a bit, burning. But yeah, I mean, no, I mean, we have people, all ages and different, physical fitness that go aboard, and not a lot of people complain about that. So I wouldn't say that it's not too strenuous. Of course, the climbing and the hiking and things like that does require some kind of physical fitness. But for your traditional Nile cruise or Cairo, pyramid tours and so on, I wouldn't worry about that either.
Okay, that's great. And just another question about safety. So what about just the general safety within the country, and is the government and civil society settled? Thanks for that question, Wilma.
Yeah, so Egypt is actually a very safe country. People are very friendly. The locals are always so friendly. So, we very rarely hear about any, pickpocketers or things like that. Not at all. So I think even for anyone that have been to Egypt, they can vouch with me for that and tell you that there's no place really where you feel that like you're in any type of threat. With that being said, ANK, we always delegate the tourism police that come out with the tours just for extra security, and it makes people feel safe. And the tourism police is always reported whenever there's a tour being conducted and things like that. So there's always an eye kept on such touristic places.
Okay, that's great. Ahmed, I heard about there's on November 4th, there's going to be an event where they're opening the Valley of the Sphinx in Luxor. And apparently that's going to get some world coverage. So it's just something for people to look out for on November 4th. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
I think I wanted to just add while the slide is up, and many of our guests who do make the trip over to Egypt do decide to combine it with other countries in the region. And so if you are making the trip to Egypt, adding 4 days to be able to go over and experience Jordan is a great combination. A lot of people will do an Egypt, Jordan, Israel combination. So keeping that in mind as a way to really make the most of your time in this region of the world.
Awesome. That's great. That's so great. We are we're so lucky to partner with companies like ANK who are, in destination and just know really what's going on all the time and can make those personal recommendations for our clients and get them off the beaten track. So that is wonderful. I think that's pretty much all the questions. Rhonda, did I miss anything?
No, I think you've kind of covered all the questions that came in, and yeah, I just thank you both for sharing this, really intriguing and an amazing country. And I know personally, I can't wait to experience it. And just reiterating what Julie said, it's just really nice to know that, you want to, that you guys, anybody that travels with ANK, you're going to be 100%, protected and taken care of, and they know their country, they know what they're doing. So it's just really lovely to be able to showcase this with you guys. Thank you.
Awesome. Great. Well, if you think of any questions, anyone thinks of any questions after, definitely just reach out to one of us or your Paul travel agent. And we wish you all the best. Carson and Ahmed, it's so good to see you, and good luck. Hopefully lots of people will be visiting Egypt in the coming years. So thank you so much.
I hope this inspired everyone, and I look forward to welcoming you all to Egypt.
Definitely.
Yes.
Thank you.
Everyone's filling up on their wanderlust.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.